Welcome back to Buffalo. Iona and St. Peter's being introduced now, moments away from tipping off round 2 of the MAAC tournament. And let's take a look at today's starting lineups, brought to you by I Love New York. Come out and play in New York State. Kirill Waxman, Charles Henson, Marvin McCullough, Steve Burton, Ricky Soliver. You see that Greg Jenkins is not in the starting lineup, but he is in uniform, unlike yesterday, and is available to come off the bench.
As is Gary Springer Jr. as well. So now all of a sudden Iona with a little more depth up front.
Meanwhile, Ron Yates gets the start, the senior from Queens. Mark Curry gets the start, senior from East Orange, New Jersey. Ivan Bozovic, Corey Hinnant, and Keedron Clark, the nation's top scorer. Tonight's coaching matchup brought to you by Anaconda Sports and The Rock. Jeff Rulin. His club is 14-15 overall. He's in his 7th year at his alma mater. Meanwhile, Bob Leckie also at his alma mater. The Peacocks come in with a record of 15-12, and St. Peter's is the hottest team in the league, having won 9 of its last 11.
And they've been playing terrific basketball coming down the stretch, and certainly talking to Bob Leckie, saying, you know, how important is that run? He said, well, 2 things. One, we come in with a great deal of confidence, and also everybody has bought into their roles. When you're winning games, it's a lot easier for everybody to accept how you're playing.
And the big question is, how much will Iona get out of Greg Jenkins, and really how much will they need out of Greg Jenkins? They proved yesterday that they can get by without him.
Well, if Henson, and also off the bench, a terrific effort yesterday from Justin DeMarshall, if they get that type of effort from their front court, then certainly it's not as important to have Jenkins on the floor. But I'll tell you one thing, Jeff Rulin is hoping that the big guy can get going inside in the post.
The Gales, as the lower seed, wearing their road gold uniforms with the maroon lettering and white trim. And St. Peter's making its first appearance here at the MAAC tournament this weekend. They received the first round bye for being the number 4 seed and finishing in 4th place during the regular season. They wear the home whites with the navy blue lettering and the light blue trim.
Second straight year that St. Peter's was a number 4 seed. Last year in the second round, they beat Ryder in a terrific game in overtime and then lost to Manhattan, the eventual champion, in the semis.
Henson and Bozovic will jump center here at HSBC Arena in downtown Buffalo. And the first possession here goes to Iona. Marvin McCullough, who has been hot lately, at the point to begin things for Iona.
Yeah, he's really shooting the basketball well. 6 for 6 from beyond the 3 in his last 2 games.
And a quick steal by Corey Hinnant.
Both these teams very comfortable when they get out and run.
St. Peter's hasn't played since last Sunday when they beat Manhattan handily, 85-64. In that game, Keedron Clark, well, had a typical Kiki Clark game with 33 points.
How about his week last week? 18 threes over 3 games, some incredible numbers. When you look at his stat sheet, so many different things just pop right out.
It's certainly not just about scoring points, although that's the thing that gets the most attention. There he is on the offensive glass, but he is 0 for 2 to begin with. Yates is stripped and fouled by McCullough.
And Yates important, very important, especially in today's game against Iona. He's got the ability to get things done in the paint. In each of their 2 games, he came up big. Double-double first time, 20 points, 12 rebounds, and then 23 in a win at the Anatelli Center.
In that ball game, St. Peter's won at 81-76. In the earlier game this season at the Mulcahy Center, Iona took it 93-88. We're not expecting it to be as up and down as that. St. Peter's would love to push tempo and get the points up in the 80s or 90s.
And the interesting thing, in both those games, Iona built a big lead. 20-point lead in that first game, and then all of a sudden St. Peter's came roaring back, as that's been their case all season long. They've followed that script, dig themselves a big hole and then come back. They couldn't get over the top in the first game, but they scored the last 11 points of the second game to come away with the home win.
Ron Yates picks up the foul for St. Peter's. Very versatile player for the Peacocks. Here's Steve Burt, the leading scorer for Iona, misfiring on his first attempt, and Yates with a rebound.
And Burt really struggled last night in the first half, but then came alive with a hot streak in the second.
Clark lost it on the way up, and McCullough comes away with a loose ball. As expected, the focus of the defense for Iona all on Keidron Clark, and so far they've made it tough for him in the first couple of minutes.
And in each of their first 2 games, they did a good job containing him for the first 30 minutes of the game, but then he went wild late.
Soliver connects, the junior out of All Hallows High School, with his first 3 and the first points of the ball game.
He had a very solid all-around game yesterday, 7 assists and just 2 turnovers, but he scored just 2 points on 1 for 7, so good sign for him getting off early.
Well, he's a guy who suffered a concussion in the penultimate game of the regular season. Actually sat out the next to last game after suffering it with 3 games to go. Did come back for the regular season finale, and as you mentioned, played pretty well yesterday. Played a good floor game. And there he commits the double dribble. I think he tried to go behind his back, and it never worked out.
Sloppy play by both teams to start things off as Jeff Ruland's team kicking it around. Soliver thinking about just dropping it back. Looked like he was going to try a little behind the back pass to Stevie Burt running on the other side, but instead turned it over.
17:30 to go in the first half. Ivan Bozovic thought about hoisting the 3. He's only 1 for 13 this season from beyond the arc, so perhaps a voice in his head said, wait till Kiki gets a 3. Clark, though, now is 0 for 4 from the floor, and we've got a foul on the rebound.
From the second game, as we said, Iona did a very good job of neutralizing Kiki Clark. He was just 3 of 15 from the field, one of his worst shooting games on the season. One of the keys for Jeff Ruland, he said, just running different bodies at him. McCullough will have the assignment, Burt will, as will Soliver.
First foul on Curry, and the second against St. Peter's. Jeff Ruland apparently wanted a new basketball.
Well, when Kiki's 0 for 4, there's got to be something wrong with the ball. I mean, he's never 0 for 4, so they switched the ball up.
So Bob Lucky was the one who went and got the new basketball to be used, and apparently the 2 head coaches decide, all right, this ball's okay.
Tell you what, both teams have turned it over. Neither team shot it well, so let's try a new ball. We'll take anything here.
The only one who doesn't like the ball change is Ricky Soliver. He's got the only points until that layup.
Once again, Henson continuing his aggressive play, coming off that terrific game last time out.
Well, he averages only 6 points per game, but had 19 points, a career-high 12 rebounds in that tournament opener yesterday against Iona. Waxman gets the roll.
And Waxman had a lot of good opportunities yesterday, but he was just 1 of 6 from the floor, but hits on that easy one inside. He's got the ability to find shots, but at times he doesn't finish.
And we haven't mentioned Justin Marshall yet either. He's a reserve forward, a sophomore who also played a good game yesterday in place of Jenkins. And they will need some good minutes out of him regardless of whether Jenkins is available or not. 3-on-1. Burt hacked on his way to the basket, and he will shoot 2.
One of the reasons why coming in today you figured that we might have a couple upsets along the way is that the seeds certainly help you when you're trying to win championships. But in that first game when you're matching up against a team that's already got a win in the tournament underneath their belt, sometimes it can be difficult for that top seed stepping in their first game. And right now, certainly Iona off to that quick early start.
St. Peter's has gone nearly 4 minutes without a point. And the nation's leading scorer, Keidron Clark, picks up his first foul. Burt with his first point.
You think back to when the NCAA tournament expanded to 48 teams and how many first-round upsets that you saw for those teams that got the bye into that second round. You think back to St. Joe's beating DePaul when DePaul came in as a #1 seed in the tournament. And once again, it's a little bit easier once you've now gotten a win under your belt. That bye really takes precedence and really starts helping you out in games 2 and 3, not necessarily in game #1.
St. Peter's 0 for 6 to begin the ball game. Couple of turnovers as well. Make it 0 for 7 on the block shot, but Yates comes down with it. Ball went through the hole. Are they going to count the basket? No. Foul before the wild shot was put up and in.
But that's where they've got to go. Again, Yates has had good success against Iona. He scored 20 or more in each of their first 2 meetings this year. Put the ball inside and allow him to maneuver on the low block.
Soliver with the slap picks up his first and the second against Iona. Non-shooting foul. Terrence Watkins just into the game, #1 for St. Peter's. Peacocks continue to struggle as Yates is off the mark.
Miguel's doing a great job on the defensive backboards.
McCullough, who has been hot from the perimeter, fires long and lands awkwardly on his left ankle. We have ourselves a timeout. Keedron Clark and the Peacocks still scoreless. Iona with a quick 9-0 lead on the MAAC television network. It is cold in Buffalo this weekend, and it's a cold start to this first ball game for St. Peter's. Here in the second round, Keedron Clark 0-for. And if there's one player, though, in the MAAC and in this tournament, you don't worry about a slow start. You don't worry about falling behind 9-0 because that guy can put up, 15 points in 2 minutes all by himself?
Just like that. And this St. Peter's team has played like that all season long. They've consistently gotten themselves behind in double digits in the first half. And so many times in this run of winning 9 of 11, they've pulled games out late.
Well, they're putting themselves into an ever bigger hole as Ricky Soliver hits his second three-pointer.
And that was a deep one, guarded as well as he was able to hide behind the screen straight on.
12-0 Iona, and again, Keedron Clark loses the handle on his way to the hole. Bird again, strong to the basket, missed it. Waxman muscled it away from Watkins and puts it back in. It's 14-0.
Terrific hustle from Waxman to make the run, make the trip up the floor to get an offensive putback.
Now if you're St. Peter's, we talk about, well, you're down 9-0, you figure it out, but now down 14-0. And Sloppy again with the ball. Burt pulls up.
Wow.
Don't look now, it's 17-0.
Absolutely on fire is Iona. Stevie Burt knocking down the deep three, but it's their defense that's key in everything, forcing turnovers against St. Peter's. They got off to a great start in the first round against Siena, and it was their defense that set the tone right off the bat in that game as they held Siena to just 18 first half points on 23% shooting. Well, right now, 0% shooting for St. Peter's. Waxman makes the run, doing a good job of just muscling through contact for the putback, and then off the turnover. Out and on the break, knocking down a deep three. Iona right now playing with a ton of confidence.
And, let's not forget, this Iona Gales program is the winningest all-time in the history of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. They have 6 all-time champions in the postseason. And they have played like it so far this weekend in Buffalo, winning easily over Siena in the first round yesterday, 68-51, and off to a 17-0 start here this afternoon.
And it's been their mixing defenses, using that three-quarter court 2-2-1 to slow things down. It certainly gave Siena problems yesterday. Straight man mixing it with the matchup zone.
Bozovic breaks the seal for St. Peter's.
As you said, just 1-3 on the season coming in. Knocks it down straight on.
So it took 5.5 minutes for the St. Peter's team, which loves to get up and down the floor to get its first points. Soliver, he has been hot.
That quick first step, a burst energy into the lane, and the ability to finish at the other side of the rim. Here's where Kiki's got to take over. Usually he defers early to his teammates. Right now, in that big hole, he can't defer. He's got to step up and take charge.
It got late quickly.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly. Absolutely.
That's Keedron's first basket. Leads the nation at 25.9 points per game. Burt pulls up from just inside the arc. Watkins pulls down the rebound for the Peacocks.
And that was a bad shot. At times, Stevie Burt's got the ability to force shots.
Yates. Well, the three-pointers will get you back in it.
But from unlikely suspects in Yates and also the big guy Bozovic. Looks like Sean Marion on that release.
Got the same result as Sean Marion, though, but you're right. That was
a little
similar.
Push shot.
Soliver.
Great
nice pass. Henson throws it down. We got a quick whistle. An official's time as Greg Jenkins, meanwhile, is waiting at the scorer's table to check in. We take another look.
Well, we've seen the quick first step of Ricky Soliver. He's able to get himself all the way to the rim, and on that last terrific feed, as soon as he came off and the defense picked him up, fired it right inside to Henson.
And credit Henson for making the cut right to the basket and being ready for that pass. Joe DeMeo, the lead official, is taking a look to see if Yates was a 2 or a 3.
This will give us a better look right here.
I'd say that's a 3.
That's a 3.
You see some wood brown color between the white stripe and the sneaker.
Yep.
So the score stays 21-8. St. Peter's head coach Bob Lucky getting the explanation for the stoppage in play. Bozovic, Clark, Hinnant, Yates, and Watkins on the floor for the Peacocks, who are the 4th seeded team here at the MAAC tournament.
And once again, the three-quarter court pressure, not necessarily up to force turnovers, but to force St. Peter's to take some time off the clock, advancing the basketball.
And first team All-MAAC forward Greg Jenkins is in the ball game now, and we've got another St. Peter's turnover.
Well, they have just kicked the basketball all over the place. The Iona lost. They turned it over 22 times. Right now, they get Jenkins a touch early on.
And even though he lost the handle on that, the best sign for Iona is that he looks fluid and mobile.
And he's a guy who's very comfortable stepping himself out and diving into the lane and then posting up.
You've got Henson and Jenkins, the twin towers, in the ball game at the same time for Iona. The Gales opened up a 17-0 lead to begin the ball game. McCullough. There's Soliver cleaning up for 2 more, and the foul against Bozovic.
Well, Henson's the first guy that kept it alive by getting his hand on the basketball. And then Soliver, those 2 guys bringing terrific energy from the start of the game there to clean it up.
Soliver has already reached double figures with 10 and a chance for 1 more here at the line.
You see Henson got a hand on it, kept it alive, and then Bozovic turned around. He gets whistled for the foul. Bozovic has never fouled anybody. Just ask him. Every time he fouls it, he's got this incredulous look on his face. His hands are up.
So Soliver, a 71% foul shooter, rattles it home.
McCullough doing a terrific job trying to keep the basketball out of Kiki Clark's hands.
Iona with a 16-point lead. Kamondre Owes has come into the game for St. Peter's. Clark forced to take a double clutch. St. Peter's fortunate to have it go to Owes, who lays it in.
Well, absolutely. Clark can't find good shots within the context of their offense right now because of the solid defense by Marvin McCullough, so he needed to force it.
Henson being hounded by Yates. Jenkins with another great look to the cutting Henson, who missed this time. And it'll be St. Peter's basketball.
Well, Henson missed the easy one there, but he's very good at moving himself around on the floor, especially diving down the lane.
And as we saw just moments ago, Henson is able to finish. Time out on the floor, 14-point Iona lead.
You have a goal, a mission, something that St. Peter's College understands. Just across the river from New York's financial district, St. Peter's has helped guide students for more than 125 years. With small student-to-teacher ratio, advanced technologies, scholarship programs, and championship athletics, St. Peter's College is a perfect beginning for your growth and success. St. Peter's, the Jesuit College of New Jersey, the advantage you're looking for.
Iona has jumped out quickly on St. Peter's, and we send it over to the 3rd member of our crew, Dave McGarity.
Thanks a lot, Doug. Yeah, it's interesting. Both of these teams are mirror images of each other. Both got out to very, very rough starts. St. Peter's 1-6 in the MAAC. Iona 0-5. Over their past 10, 11, 12 games respectively, Iona has gone 8-4 to finish the season. St. Peter's 9-2 in their last 11 games, which got them into that 4th seed and the bye. But Iona's playing their best basketball, and I think the resurgence and confidence of Marvin McCullough and Kira Walkman have really added to that. And even with the injuries, I think with certainly with Greg Jenkins and now with the suspension of Springer and him being eligible, really gives them a big lift. But St. Peter's and Iona have had a great rivalry over the years, so this should be a great one today, fellas. Back to you.
Yates trying to help the Peacocks get back in it. 24-12.
And they've got to find some easy baskets by turning over the Gales. As we said, Iona in their loss at St. Peter's turned it over 22 times.
But as Dave mentioned, Iona is playing its best basketball right now, having won 6 of its last 9. And Jeff Ruland really hasn't known what he was going to get out of these guys. Any particular day, game, half, he calls his team either the good Gales or the evil Gales. He doesn't know who he's going to get.
Exactly, but when his team comes and has focus and defense, which we've seen them do in the first half here tonight and saw them do the entire game against Siena in the first round, then they're the good Gales.
So far here this afternoon, they are the good Gales with a 14-point lead. Keedron Clark blocked by Henson. Here's another leak out by Steve Burt.
The Gales have been able to get out and run because of their defense, forcing turnovers and then turning them into points at the other end.
9 points for Steve Burt, 11 for Ricky Soliver.
And 6 turnovers so far for St. Peter's. And again, a lot of those have led to leak out easy buckets at the other end.
Now, a lot of the turnovers have been caused on the point guard penetrating, losing the handle, nobody rotating back, and then it's an easy chance at the bucket for Iona. Bozovic gets fouled by Henson.
Iona with their swarming defense, as you said, Clark getting himself into the lane, nothing happening. Even though that's not a turnover, that block shot leads to a turnover-type basket out on the fast break.
Somebody's got to rotate back when Keedron penetrates, rather than just standing and watching, assuming he's going to make the basket.
Well, absolutely. They're not used to him turning the basketball over, though. He's got 3 already in the early going. Usually they just spot up when he gets himself into the lane because they know that Clark will find him.
Gary Springer, Taquan Evans, and Kirill Waxman come in for Iona. Greg Jenkins and Charles Henson take a seat. And also Marvin McCullough goes out. Bozovic hit both foul shots. Todd Sowell, a freshman from Bishop Laughlin High School, into the ball game. And as mentioned a moment ago, that backcourt combining for 20 points, 20 of the 28 for the Gales.
Talking to Bobby Leckie earlier today, he said that's one of our keys. We have to contain those 2 guys. Soliver on fire here today, just as he was the first time these 2 teams met. He had a great game, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and that out.
And now he's already surpassed his season average with 13 points. And again, a 2-on-1, unfortunately for Iona. Burt was unable to get a better shot than that one, and then he picks up the foul at midcourt. Trying to body up on Keedron Clark.
And that's where Burt had Springer running with him. You've got to figure out a way to get the ball ahead to the big guy running the floor. Instead, Burt with another force. You see he and Clark get tied up near midcourt. Burt gets called for the foul.
And the old high school teammates from Rice High School who have gone at it for years, both as teammates and opponents, are pulled together by the officials just to say, take it easy, cool down. I'd imagine if you ask them, though, it's like playing ball in the backyard with your brother. Pound on each other, but no hard feelings. Sowell misses. O's denied by Waxman.
And Sowell's got to convert that pretty feed from Yates on the first attempt. A couple missed layups inside for the Peacocks.
Soliver goes away from the screen. Springer, who missed the first round game against Siena after being suspended because he threw a punch during the regular season finale. Waxman from the baseline.
A wide open 15 feet from the basket, and he's got the ability to knock down that face-up jumper.
So Waxman with 6, Henson with 4. Tough shot for Yates. O's got the ball and flying into the press table with Soliver. He's all right as play continues. And the foul will send Yates to the line.
Jeff Ruland was looking for a couple charge calls there. Nothing happening. Yates being aggressive off the bounce.
Timeout. Jeff Ruland's Iona Gales with a big lead over St. Peter's. So far, this game has been the tale of the two backcourts, and we showed you a moment ago how Ricky Soliver and Steve Bird have been on fire for Iona. It's been just the opposite for St. Peter's.
St. Peter's comes in as the highest scoring backcourt in the league, but I guess when you've got Kiki Clark, no matter who you're going to throw with them, they're going to be one of the highest scoring. But he and Hinnant average over 37 points per game coming in. They certainly have not gotten themselves on track offensively here in the early going.
Yeah, Hinnant's no slouch, averaging 11 per game himself, but he is still 0 for as well. Well, the St. Peter's program has not been to the NCAA tournament in a decade. The last time the Peacocks went, 1995, under the direction of Ted Fiore. They beat Manhattan in overtime in the championship game and then wound up losing to UMass in the first round of the Big Dance. But Bob Lucky has his program and this team back in position to conceivably make a run here this weekend.
Absolutely, and it's all because of Kiki Clark. I mean, he is the key to this team.
Waxman couldn't handle the pass, and it'll be St. Peter's basketball.
Yates has been active both ends of the floor. We've seen him put the ball to the floor and get by people, that time getting his hand involved to knock it off of Waxman.
Well, like you said, in the two regular season games against Iona, Yates averaged 21.5 points and 9.5 rebounds per game, which are quite a bit more than he averaged for the rest of the regular season. Derek Hooker has come into the game, a reserve guard for St. Peter's, as Bob Lucky tries to find somebody who can knock down a shot. Clark does a nice job of avoiding the two defenders and getting the shot off.
He can. He'll knock him down. Can't keep Kiki down for long because he can score it in so many different ways. Not just a three-point shooter, but his quickness to get by people off the dribble.
Justin Marshall has come in for Iona. Springer fouled on the way up. And a smart move by Derek Hooker. He realizes I'm only going to play maybe 10 minutes at most. We can't have our big guys get fouls, and he immediately says, give the foul to me, raised his hand.
Smart player, the walk-on who's gotten good minutes coming down the stretch here in the season. And clearly that foul was on Yates. You see Yates pointing to Hooker as well.
Hooker initially said jump ball, but when he realized it was going to be a foul call, he put the one hand down, kept the other hand up, and said, call it on me.
Talking to Bob Lucky earlier today, he said he's so proud of Derek Hooker, and when we saw him come out of the game on senior day in that last televised game of the regular season against Manhattan, Bob Lucky gave the biggest hand and hug to Hooker. And why not? Had 9 in that game against Manhattan, double figures earlier this season against Marist. Not often you see a walk-on getting those opportunities, and he certainly has taken advantage of it.
And he does have 1 year of eligibility remaining. If he so chose to come back and get his postgraduate degree, he could play again for St. Peter's next year. Here come the Peacocks trying to battle back from being down 17-0. Hinnant misses on the wild runner. Waxman with another rebound. Here's Burt with it. 15 seconds left on the shot clock. Marshall calling for it. Now gets it on the low block. Nice look to Springer, and he's fouled. And will shoot 2. Personal goes against Todd Sowell.
Marshall had a mismatch as Kiki Clark was trying to defend him inside in the low block. When the defensive rotation came, Marshall recognized it. Nice interior passing.
St. Peter's foul starts number 40 on Sowell. His first.
That's the 6th team foul against St. Peter's, the first against Sowell, and Springer will shoot a pair of freshmen out of Union City, Georgia.
As we've said a couple times, this St. Peter's team has had the propensity to get themselves down big in the first half and then get on runs, but those runs have been bunched together quickly, where all of a sudden Kiki knocks down a couple threes, Hinnant gets involved. They haven't had one of those spurts yet.
Greg Jenkins comes back into the ball game. Again, he missed round 1 against Siena because of a back injury, but he seems to be okay here tonight.
It'll be interesting to see when he comes back in for the second time now, having played a little bit, now sat back down to see whether or not that back tightens up.
Clark tries to drop it off. And again, the Iona defense making it tough for Kedron Clark.
Iona foul charge number 33.
Clark's so quick and good with the basketball, gets himself in there, drops it off nicely to Sowell, who doesn't come up with the catch.
Second foul on Waxman and the 6th against Iona. And again, the Gales defense forcing another turnover.
Well, they're in the zone against the baseline out of bounds, and as soon as the ball goes into the corner, they come out of the 2-3 and trap it. Perfect trap right here. They invite the basketball into the deep corner, and now it becomes not just 2 defenders, it becomes 4. You've got the sideline baseline plus 2 Iona Gales.
And so the Gales looking to build on the lead, but so well with a block shot. Here's Clark left alone from 22 feet. Jenkins with the rebound.
And he had a good wide-open look right there. That's the first time that nobody's been hanging around him when he's had the basketball.
Kedron Clark has just 4 points so far. He averages 26 per game.
And if they're going to make a run, he's the guy that's got to get it going.
Burt does a nice job of handling the pressure. And then the foul against Greg Jenkins.
Jenkins trying to post up against Bozovic. Bozovic trying to help the officials there. A terrific flop by the big guy inside.
Like you said, he's one of the more demonstrative players in the MAAC.
I mean, Jenkins is strong. He's not that strong. And down goes Frazier.
So the foul against Jenkins is the 5th against Iona here in the half.
They also have done a great job defending the high pick and roll with the ball in Clark's hand.
Bozovic lays it in off the nice feed.
Yeah, Hooker able to beat his man into the lane. Defense rotates up, and Bozovic there to pick up the easy 2 inside.
McCullough, Burt, Waxman, Jenkins, and Marshall on the floor for Iona. Hooker's going to pick up the personal foul.
Trying to bait the officials into calling the hook right there, but good defensive pressure by Hooker, but you can't give up fouls.
St. Peter's fouls on number 12, Derek Hooker.
That's the 7th team foul against St. Peter's, number 2 against Hooker. So McCullough will shoot a 1-and-1. Marvin McCullough has carved out a pretty nice niche in the history of Iona basketball. The last 3 years, he has had at least 100 assists.
Each of his first 2 years, he led the team in both assists and steals. This year, second to Soliver in the assist category, but once again leads the team in steals.
Yep, and he's the first Gale in a quarter century to turn that century mark every year in assists. And in that last 25 years, there have been an awful lot of good players who come through New Rochelle.
And as David Garrity mentioned, playing with a little bit more offensive confidence is McCullough. Scoring 20 in the last regular season game against Siena, and then 14 last night.
Foul on Hinnant is his first in the 8th against St. Peter's, so Marshall marches to the line. Well, Justin Marshall started the last 3 games of the regular season, kind of an intangible guy. He's efficient with the ball, 58% from the floor during that late season stretch. And he's a guy who can provide energy, got a 7-foot wingspan. So at only 6'8", he's able to guard some bigger people.
He's quick enough to get out on the perimeter as well and guard guys away from the basket. That versatility is one of the reasons why he got the starting nod early in the season, then disappeared for a while and has fought his way back into the lineup.
Clark gets around McCullough, who gives him a bump, and Kedron comes up holding his right wrist.
And the foul is on number 13, Marvin McCullough, his second, team's 8th.
And that could be problematic for the Peacocks.
Well, he turns the corner, but then goes down. Oh, it looks like Soliver stepped on his hand while Clark's hand was on the floor.
So it's a double impact, hitting the floor and then getting it stepped on. And unfortunately for St. Peter's, that's his shooting hand. And as you see, he struggled already, and an injured right hand isn't going to help. We're in Buffalo, round number 2 of the 2005 MAAC tournament. The winner of this game will take on the top-seeded Niagara Purple Eagles in the semifinals tomorrow afternoon back here at HSBC Arena. Well, the hand looked all right on that, but immediately upon releasing that shot, Clark goes back to holding on to that hand. Fans this season, Aeropostale will donate an article of clothing for every free throw made during conference play. And at the end of the season, Aeropostale and the MAAC distributing these clothes to youth groups in our communities. Thank you very much, Aeropostale.
See Clark with his first half scoring. Gets himself up into the record books yet again. 3 seasons. He's got the top 3 single-season scoring marks in St. Peter's history.
And because of that prolific scoring rate that he's been on, he became the all-time leading scorer in St. Peter's history in 2.5 seasons. And here he goes. Still off the mark from the perimeter. And the little man for Iona, Steve Burt, getting in there for the rebound, but the pressure forced him out of bounds. It's a 15-point Iona lead as we head to break. 3:52 left to go in the first half. You're watching the MAAC Television Network.
I know most of you just graduated high school last year, or maybe you've been working for a while, seen some things, done some things, but nothing has prepared you for what's going to happen now. We're going to set goals for each of you, way up here, way up here, and then we're going to help you exceed them, believe it. And when finished, you're going to have not just a degree, you'll be a different person, a better person. Welcome to Iona.
Aspire, achieve. Iona. Call Iona College at 1-800-231-IONA.
Iona with a 15-point lead over St. Peter's and a little switch in footwear during this timeout.
Well, Kiki Clark's come around the corner a number of times and was slipping. Bob Leckie was complaining that maybe the floor was slippery. They got the broom out in between timeouts, and then Kiki Clark decided to change sneakers. Must be the shoes.
Got to be the shoes.
Early it was the ball. Now maybe it's the shoe. Now we got everything going, and Kiki will get back on a roll.
Well, it's been a rough go so far offensively for Keidron Clark. Only 6 points. And it was his inability to score early, along with his teammates, that put the Peacocks in a 17-0 hole. Yates took the inbound and had it blocked out of bounds.
Takes exception with the fact that there was no foul called.
Hinnant, quick release. A little bit strong. Hooker able to steal the rebound.
And Hooker's giving him energy off the bench. Couple hustle plays on both ends of the floor.
Here goes Kiki in his new kicks. Hooker, up fake around Waxman. Quick pass inside. Bozovic who lays it in.
And again, Hooker making things happen. Getting himself into the lane. Nice feed. And Bozovic has given them a lift inside. His ability to score it on the block. He's now 3 for 3 from the floor.
9 points for the senior forward from Yugoslavia. Burt answers quickly with a 3 and a quick timeout called by Iona.
Again, the 3-point shooting early on for the Gales. Their 4th 3 here in the first half.
And so now Steve Burt has 12 points to go along with Ricky Soliver's 13.
Here's the ball fake by Hooker, gets himself into the lane. Defense rotates up. Marshall doesn't challenge hard enough, and Bozovic there to finish. At the other end, the 3-point shooting. How about that backcourt? Combined for 25 points here in the first half, and it's been the 3-point shooting of both Burt and Soliver that have gotten the Gales out to this 16-point lead.
Marshall, Waxman, Henson, Burt, and McCullough come back onto the floor for Iona. Steve Burt has picked up where he left off yesterday. Had a great second half yesterday. Soliver, meanwhile, scored the 13 quick points as Iona jumped out to the big lead. St. Peter's has Hinnant, Yates, Hooker, Bozovic, and Keidron Clark with the ball.
And the Gales shooting lights out, over 60% here in the first half. When they beat St. Peter's at home, they shot a season-high 63% from the field. St. Peter's got to start guarding people.
They're down 16 with under 3 minutes to go in the half. Every time Keidron Clark touches the ball, it seems like he's staring into Iona.
Absolutely. Double team, especially when he comes off those high screens.
Shot clock down at 8. Hinnant still has yet to score. Henson with a rebound.
And Yates not getting any touches inside on the low blocks. They've gone away from getting him some touches inside.
Hinnant now is 0 for 5 and 0 for 2 from beyond the three-point arc. Waxman goes around Bozovic, puts it up, and gets the roll.
After not being able to finish yesterday against Siena, he's finishing it inside here this afternoon, giving him good scoring punch early on for Jeff Rule.
Well, Waxman is energetic and productive. He plays only 18 minutes per game, but averages over 5 rebounds per game. So if you project that out, he would be among the league leaders if he were getting more minutes. When he's active, he's a huge asset for the Gales. Yates lays it in.
He's not getting touches, so he's got to go find himself some scoring opportunities. Every time Kiki Clark gets himself into the lane, a second Iona defender comes up to challenge. The big guy stepping up to take away lanes for Clark.
Quick pass inside. Waxman brought it down, and Hooker nearly tied him up, but
Nice
Waxman
move.
on the reverse.
And he's been perfect inside, shooting the basketball extremely well, finishing around the hoop.
Waxman into double figures with 10. It's an 18-point Iona lead, 43-25.
Not bad when you're a perfect 5 for 5 from the field.
Foul against Corey Hinnant, so Marshall will shoot free throws.
And again, the energy right now for Iona, you can see it in their bench every time they make a good hustle play. Everybody on the bench is up and clapping and able to race out to this 18-point lead.
Foul number 2 on Corey Hinnant as we take another look at the hustle by Marshall. It's the 9th team foul against St. Peter's.
Love when officials are trying to sell a call. You know, he says, yeah, you grabbed him across the thing. Nobody else in the building saw it, so sometimes you got to sell it.
Now things are going against St. Peter's right now, no question about it. Marshall's a perfect 3 for 3 from the line. He's only a 53% shooter, so like I said, the Gales are getting it done right now. .120 left to go in the half. Another wild shot by Yates, and Iona can continue to build on its largest lead. Taquan Evans has come in at the point for Iona.
A huge lead, momentum, and energy. I mean, they have come out and taken it right to St. Peter's.
Traveling violation against Evans, the freshman from Troy, New York.
All season long, St. Peter's has been living on the edge, getting themselves down big early. Many of those games they've been able to make a run, but I'll tell you what, right now the energy of Iona is just outmatching the energy for St. Peter's.
And again, making it tough for Keegan Clark, 40 feet from the basket. George Jefferson just off the bench. Waxman has it taken away by Clark. The foul will go against Henson, who can't believe it.
Well, Clark's not afraid to throw around his body. He's a guy, when he gets himself into the lane, that often goes and searches out contact to get himself to the line. He's also not afraid to rebound the basketball. He's had 2 double-doubles on the season with double-digit rebounds. That time gets himself to the lane. But every time he comes off the high screen, especially when Waxman is guarding the screener, they're doing a great job of hedging and then keeping the double team to try and force it out of his hands.
Keegan Clark, a first-team All-MAAC performer again this year, now has 7 points.
Talked about the fact that Jeff Rulin's team has done a good job of defending against Kiki Clark in their 2 meetings, held them to 3 of 15 from the field in the second meeting, especially in the first half. Jeff said, you know, in the second half, especially in the first game, he went wild in the last 10 minutes of the game, but they've been able to bottle them up each of their 3 meetings in the first 20 minutes.
Well, as we talked about, if anybody is capable of coming back from this, is Keegan Clark, and if any team is capable of coming back, it's the Peacocks. There's a 4-second difference between the game and shot clock, so the Gales attack. Waxman misfires on his second attempt. Yates pulls it away, and he's fouled by Springer.
That's where, if you're Springer, you just got to get away from that. No need to challenge the defensive rebound. Get yourself back in transition. Instead, Yates will go to the line. See Kiki talking to him about, make sure you're smart here now. As soon as he got whistled for the foul, he dropped the basketball right on top of Springer. You got to be careful with those things. He's too important to his team, is Yates.
Ron Yates, a 6'6" senior out of Forest Hills High School. He's from Queens. And he's now got 9 points. Again, he has been the Gale killer this season. Leads St. Peter's in the scoring column tonight. He and Bozovic both with 9. Keegan Clark has 8. 3 subs with 18 seconds to go for St. Peter's. O's, Hooker, and Hinnant come in. So 5 guards on the floor for Bob Lecky's club, and we've got a foul before the inbound that goes against Terrence Watkins.
They go small and get up in the full court pressure to try and take advantage of their quickness to get whistled for the foul immediately.
Look at number 1 in white, and there's the bump on Steve Burt. So still 18 seconds on the clock. No time expired on that last exchange. Bird is the second best foul shooter in the MAAC this year at 85%. There's George Jefferson back into the game. And after picking up that foul, Terrence Watkins sits. Burt now is the game-high scorer with 14 points. Let's see what Clark can do on this final possession.
Well, his team desperately needs a bucket here to head to the locker room with a little bit of momentum, and the ball will stay in Clark's hands.
And Taquan Evans is the man on the island trying to stop it. Jefferson blocked by Marshall, and there's that long reach that we talked about. Oh! Steve Burt almost hit the midcourt shot at the buzzer. Instead, that's about the only thing that didn't go right for Iona.
Tremendous defense effort from Iona, and then great point production from their backcourt. But it's really started with their defense just as they end the first half with another terrific defensive play on the block from Marshall.
So Iona jumped out to a 17-0 lead, and they were able to maintain that lead. And right now they head to the locker room with a 46-29 advantage. Iona trying to move on to round number 2, where the top-seeded Niagara Purple Eagles await.
And just as they did in the first round win against Siena, they set the tone early with their defense, doing a great job of making it difficult for Kiki Clark to find any good shots.
Okay, let's send it over to Dave McGarity with Coach Rulin. Dave?
Thanks a lot, Doug. Yeah, I got Coach here, and the first thing I said to him was defense.
Hey, that's what helps you advance. We're doing a pretty good job. We've given a few points away, not being on the same page, but all in all, I got to be happy, and we got to come out. You know, we're up 13 at their place last time, and they came back, so we got to come out and put the crushing blow to them.
Well, offensively, obviously did a lot of great things to lead the side. I mean, I know you're nervous about any lead at halftime, but
no, we're sharing the basketball. We're playing hard. We're doing some good things. There's just a couple little things. That's all, like fouling 90 feet from the basket, things like that we don't need to do.
All right, Coach. We'll see you in the second half. Best of luck to you. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Dave. And indeed, Iona opened up a 17-point lead and maintained that lead, 46-29. At the intermission, the Gales trying to move on to round number 3 here at the MAAC basketball tournament. Well, Rob, with 15:56 left to go in the second half, St. Peter's really, if they're ever going to make a push, they've got to do it sooner rather than later, because that 17-point halftime lead hasn't shrunk, it has grown.
No, they have not been able to score here in the second half. And so far on the game, shooting just 23%. Jeff Rulin's defense has certainly gotten the better of it, and they have shut down Kiki Clark. For them to make a run, Clark's got to be able to find some open looks, especially in transition. Much easier for him to get away from defenders in transition than in the half court.
And the only 4 points for St. Peter's here in the second half have come from the foul line. They are 0 for from the floor, so a carbon copy start here in the second half as they had in the first half.
Nearly forced another, but then was smart enough to kick it out and find a teammate.
Finds Marshall this time, who goes strong to the rim, but came up short. Again, Springer tips. Marshall tipped it out. And here come the Peacocks, 3-on-1. Watkins missed. And then the foul. O's will go to the line. Springer called for the personal.
Even when they get a 3-on-1, they can't convert in transition. I mean, you got to start taking advantage of a couple opportunities.
Well, typically on a 3-on-1, you want the ball in the middle. And Watkins kept it himself on the right wing and wound up not getting a good shot up. O's is a freshman out of Cardinal Hayes High School, and he's got 5 points so far here tonight.
The other thing, if they're going to make a run, they've got to do something with their defense. They've got to turn it up. Iona has just gotten way too many open looks at the offensive end.
Bob Lecky's club not playing like the number 4 seed and not playing like the hottest team in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. SPC had won 9 of 11 coming in. We'll talk about Keegan Clark's scoring being off so far tonight. And like you say, a lot of his points come off of defense. He averages 3.5 steals per game, among the best in the country, and we just haven't seen that part of his game either.
No, we certainly have not seen the best of Keegan Clark at all. I mean, he's a guy that averages nearly 26 points per game, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. As you said, 3.5 steals per game, knocks down 4 threes. Just nothing happening so far here this evening for Kiki Clark. And as we said right from the get-go, how he goes, so goes St. Peter's, and it's not going well for either right now.
And how Steve Burt goes lately is how Iona's been going. He's got 22 points. Yeah, the stat line for Keegan Clark is not good. No steals, 5 turnovers, only 2 field goals, and there you see what the Iona backcourt has done on the flip side.
One of the good signs yesterday was that Iona got off to that big halftime lead without Burt being a big factor offensively in the first half, and then he heated it up in the second.
Hinnant hits the 3, his first bucket. And you know what else we're getting to see here is with the big lead, Greg Jenkins is able to be rested here in the second half. So again, with an eye on the Niagara game tomorrow, Jeff Ruland able to make it through the first round without his first team All-Star, and basically being able to make it through the second round at this point with Greg Jenkins on the bench.
Absolutely, and that's a big factor because they're going to need Jenkins if they're able to win this game and advance on. You need Jenkins on the floor to be able to handle Juan Mendez inside in the post. So they got an opportunity to get him out on the floor in the first half. He looked pretty good. He didn't look like he was too banged up. He was moving well. But now you get an opportunity to rest him. And again, with the back injury, that's the key. You need the rest to be able to get yourself healthy.
And there is Greg, who played 5 minutes in the first half, didn't score 1 rebound. But again, as we said, Rob, the most important thing was that he looked comfortable and he looked fluid.
Absolutely. You know, sometimes guys come off a back injury and they're laboring as they're moving around the court. That was not the case with Jenkins.
Soliver now with 15 points after the 2 foul shots. Hinnant tries from the right corner after hitting from the left side. Out ahead, Springer corrals the long pass. The foul against Keegan Clark. And Springer will shoot a pair.
Not only is Iona dominating the game and dominating the stat sheet, but they're dominating every hustle stat. Loose balls, quickest team to the basket. Once again, good effort on the backboards. And then Soliver, I tell you what, he has really changed his game. Coming out of high school, he was way more a scorer than a point guard. And he has really gotten into the situation where he's starting to look for his teammates and get other people involved.
Now, this is an anomaly for St. Peter's this year, a blowout loss, if that's the way it winds up. Their biggest deficit, and their biggest loss, I should say, this season was an 11-point setback at Niagara back on January 6th. St. Peter's is not used to being this far down late in the game. We talked about that they do fall behind regularly, but they got themselves in such a huge hole, you just don't get the sense they're going to be able to recover.
Especially in league play, 11 of their MAAC games have been decided by 7 or fewer points. They've played a ton of close games and have won most of those coming down the stretch. You mentioned a couple times, 9 of 11. They need those deep threes to start falling to make a run.
Steve Burt lost the dribble out of bounds, and again, It's the senior, Derek Hooker, coming off the bench, providing some energy for St. Peter's.
And he's the one St. Peter's player that has gotten himself in a couple hustle stats, coming up with loose balls. And Bob Lecky's searching for an answer right now, and maybe Hooker's the guy that can give him some answers.
Yates to Hinnant. Hooker from the corner. Nothing but net.
And again, you're looking for energy, and maybe it's going to be your senior walk-on. He doesn't want his career to end. Knocks down the three. Now they've got to get something going on the defensive end to string a couple together.
But instead, it's a layup by Gary Springer.
And it's just way too easy. St. Peter's not guarding anybody.
Hooker can't make it 2 in a row. Bozovic crashing. Yates was the last to touch, so the Gales get the ball back.
So a little more life for St. Peter's.
And Greg Jenkins will come back in, so Jeff Rulin will give his 6'9", 245-pound senior from Mount Vernon at least one more chance to get out and loosen himself up and see how it goes here in the second.
And again, you see him streaking down the floor. He's moving well.
Soliver's bottled up, winds up falling into the scorer's table, but he was able to get the timeout before falling out of bounds.
Got himself pinned along the sideline in the double team. Takes a timeout to save the possession.
Well, this timeout gives us an opportunity to give you the Broadway Marketing mind-bending trivia question. St. Peter's is one of 4 remaining charter members in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Name the other 3. Broadway Marketing mind-bending branded solutions. Who are the other 3 remaining charter schools in the MAAC? This is a league tournament that for a number of years, when the league was in its infancy, was played at the Meadowlands in East Rutherford. And then when the league shuffled in 1989 and 1990 and the Pepsi Arena in Albany was built, they moved the tournament there for a number of years. And then in recent years, it's been shuffled off to Buffalo. We've been to Trenton once. We'll go back to Trenton again. And Bridgeport, Connecticut's going to be into the mix. But this league has gone over many, many changes over the last quarter century.
And I remember those first couple years at the Meadowlands, a couple of great battles. Iona and St. Peter's in the championship game the first year. Certainly, by bouncing it around, you get an opportunity for some of those schools. And certainly we saw in the women's semifinal with Niagara and Canisius, an opportunity for their fans to get out and get a chance to see the local team.
Well, the men's brackets brought to you by Pontiac, the first ever G6 from Pontiac, equipped with the most powerful standard V6 in its class. With action, anything is possible. Check out a G6 today at your local Pontiac dealer. Pontiac, official performance machines of the NCAA and the Niagara Purple Eagles, kind of serving as host this weekend along with Canisius. And there's head coach Joe Mahalik, the head coach of the Purple Eagles, scouting because tomorrow afternoon in the semis, Niagara gets the winner of this one.
I was talking to him earlier today. He said, I'm just itching to play. I mean, we've been hanging around for a while. He certainly thinks his team is ready. Certainly looking forward to not have to sit around anymore. He wants to get his team out on the floor and play, but he'll certainly take the double bye into the semis.
Well, he was saying earlier to me that, there's no blueprint for this. Short of trying to follow what Manhattan did the last couple of years, you really just have to wing it. So he's had a couple of hard practices followed by a day off, followed by, he just doesn't know. It's a different routine. So he has been here at the arena, though, for the better part of the tournament, just checking things out like everybody else and doing a little scouting here this afternoon.
For the whole time, except for last night when he got an opportunity to see his son play in the Manhattan Cup final. Son St. Joseph's team losing to Canisius in a good game.
And Coach Mahalik was also a little bit busy during our first game yesterday, the Iona-Siena game, because he was being named MAAC Coach of the Year.
Picking up all that hardware. Niagara picking up a lot of that hardware. Juan Mendez, the Player of the Year. James Mathis, 6th Man of the Year. He shared that award with 2 others. Aptly named now the 6th, 7th, and 8th Man Award.
That's the first 3-pointer made by Keedron Clark, and he's now finally into double figures.
This is a guy who had 108 threes on the season, leads the country in 3-point field goals per game at 4 per game.
He missed his first 5 here tonight, finally gets one to fall. Hooker looking to get the foul call, nothing doing, and so the Gales pull it back out. Waxman from the high post. There's Jenkins active again on the glass. Yates blocks the shot. Waxman again from mid-range.
Too many open looks from the Gales. Waxman, nobody guarding him. It's a wide open look. Nothing's been easy for Kiki Clark. Here's a good solid screen, though, by Yates that allows him to get an open look, stepping right into the three. And again, they've changed things up. In the first half, the ball was in his hands. He was constantly trying to come off that high pick and roll. Instead, here in the second half, they've run him off the ball with some screens.
Clark is fouled on his drive to the basket. And again, as we look down the stat sheet, Rob, pretty much everything is even. Rebounds almost even, turnovers almost even, free throws almost even. The big difference, shooting percentage. St. Peter's shooting only 24%, while Iona is shooting 58%.
And the biggest reason for that gap has been this solid defense by the Gales. Here they once again get him pinned on the baseline.
And that's one of the few easy ones for St. Peter's here tonight. Yates with the dunk.
St. Peter's now up in a full court pressure, and again, Hinnick gets called for a foul before the ball's inbounded.
So just again, when you're thinking we got a little energy, Yates with the dunk. Quick foul before the inbound, and it's been all Gales except for that throwdown. 64-46 on the MAAC Television Network. Iona with an 18-point lead, and fans get the latest MAAC news and scores sent right to your wireless phone. Sign up for the MAAC Verizon Wireless Coaches Corner at MAACsports.com. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you. Let's send it over to Dave McGarity talking defense. Dave.
Thanks a lot, Doug. Yeah, one of the things I talked to Jeff Rowland coming out of the half, he talked a lot about defense from the way in the halftime interview, but he looked at me, just shook his head and said, defense is a beautiful thing. And I just think that sums it all up for them this half, going in from the first half into the second half. They've done a terrific job of really disrupting St. Peter's and not allowing Kiki to get in any kind of a flow at all. And you really got to credit their game plan. They've done a great job of stepping out high enough to force him to not be able to step back and shoot that three, among other things. And you know what? Traditionally, this 4-5 game has always been a killer. I mean, it's such an even thing when you think about a 10-team league. Your fourth and fifth seeds are really it's the most competitive game in the tournament, according to the brackets. But this game has been very, very close in terms of the series throughout the year. They've had two great, tough, hard-fought games, and I think this game is just sort of a microcosm of the year for these guys. So we'll see if they can try to shorten this gap, because right now Iona is in complete control. So back to you guys.
Well, they are certainly up against it. You see the numbers of their catalyst, Keedron Clark. He will wind up probably with his 20-plus points, but it has not been a typical Kiki night.
No, because as Dave said, they've mixed things up. They've run a double team at him. They've sent a second defender once he's turned the corner and gotten himself into the lane. They certainly have kept him off balance, not allowing him to get into an offensive flow or rhythm.
Meanwhile, without Greg Jenkins, again, somebody else along that front line has stepped up for Iona. Today, it's been Kirill Waxman working on a near double-double, 14 points, 8 rebounds for the reserve forward. Again, the veteran presence in the backcourt for Iona, handling the pressure nicely. Burt, Soliver, and McCullough.
Yeah, so St. Peter's has really not been able to disrupt Iona at this end of the floor with their defense.
McCullough fouled by Watkins, and we've seen it play out year after year, Rob, that more often than not the team that survives not only in the MAAC but all the other conferences in college basketball has veteran presence in the backcourt.
Yeah, two things that win championship: veteran guys handling the basketball and defense. Those are the two staples usually to win championships on any level. And certainly that's one of the things that Jeff Rowland talked about earlier today was, hey, if we keep guarding people, we've got a chance to make this run. A couple weeks ago, like you said, he's trying to figure out which team he was going to get. The team that came out and had focus, shared the basketball and defended, which was his good Gale team, or the team that at times got selfish, didn't guard people, and all of a sudden got guys on different pages.
Well, we have not seen the evil Gales so far this weekend here in Buffalo, as Coach Rowland calls them when they come out and don't do the right thing.
Well, their defense has been evil for St. Peter's.
Hinnant with a quick look to Bozovic, who puts up a wild over-the-head shot. Layup by Watkins.
Nice pass by Yates. A couple times we've seen him dump the ball off for some easy baskets inside.
McCullough keeps his dribble and finds Henson. Soliver has his head up, looking for a teammate. couldn't find anyone, and so he put it up, and now he is shaken up underneath the basket.
Henson able to put the basketball ahead. Now, as you said, Soliver's looking for somebody else. You see he gets slapped in the face by Bosovic as he heads along the baseline. But that's the difference in his game. His head up, looking for other people. I'm telling you, out of high school, this was a guy that was a pure scorer and two guard who has really changed his game and emerged into a scoring point guard.
There's a good look at Ricky Soliver with 15 points. He averages 13 per game.
With he and McCullough on the floor together so many times, you have 2 point guards on the floor, and 2 guys, though, that can also not just distribute but score the ball.
Fidelis Care is proud to sponsor the Fidelis Care Family Section. Fidelis Care providing free or low-cost health insurance to all New Yorkers through the Child and Family Health Plus programs. Wake up! Don't be yawning when we take a shot of you.
I thought you were yelling at me there for a second.
Everybody in the truck jumped, too. Soliver gets 1 out of 2. You know, Ricky Soliver was a preseason second-team All-MAAC pick, and then he was not honored in the postseason awards, and he was really disappointed. That's something he really wanted and didn't get.
Especially because he has changed his game. I mean, we've seen other guys that have definitely all of a sudden, you know, matured into a different role, and he's had a different role this year. It's no longer to be the scorer, but the guy that finds other guys, just as he did right there.
Hinnant off the turnover, drops it for Yates, and McCullough hustling picks up the foul. And, you know, when you're not the top scoring guard in your backcourt, Steve Burt has become that guy. You're going to be lost in the shuffle perhaps at awards time. But you're right, Soliver's been just as valuable.
Absolutely. And here, one of the few times that St. Peter's been able to get out on the break. Nice dump off by Hinnant as Yates runs the floor. But, yeah, he sacrificed his scoring for the betterment of his team. Iona's a better team when Soliver's distributing the basketball, led the team in assists, yet he's still scoring the basketball. Comes in out of the regular season, averaging 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting the ball pretty well. It's his all-around game, and at times, you know, that was overlooked. But he is certainly one of the most important players for this team.
Well, he is capable of putting up some points of his own. He had 23 points at Siena back in December, and then a year ago in the MAAC tournament went for 31 against Niagara. Here goes Soliver again, and again he gets into the paint and finds Burt over in the corner, so that sums up what we're talking about in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Breaks the defense down with his quickness. A couple of years ago, he would have fired that shot once he got into the lane. Now he's looking to kick it out and you get an open three.
Keedron Clark gives himself 15 points with a chance for 16 after being fouled on the shot.
And if St. Peter's is going to make a game of this thing, here's where they got to do it right now. Clark goes and finds the contact. Look at his athletic ability and deceptive strength. I mean, he goes right through Henson, has the athletic ability to hang in the air long enough to get away, and the strength to finish.
So Henson will join McCullough on the Iona bench with 4 personal fouls each. And this is the closest St. Peter's has been since the first half.
If they could get a couple stops at the other end, they could string a couple together.
Jenkins, Soliver, Waxman, Burt, and Marshall on the floor for the Gales in their road gold uniforms. They are the number 5 seed. Jenkins inside for 2. Bosovic called for the foul.
And again, it's Soliver just beating his man, just going right by Watkins on the one-on-one.
And Jenkins continues to move kind of gingerly, and it's hard to read from his body language whether he's really hurting or if he's just making sure he doesn't re-injure what he's already got going on. He continues to stay on, but he's clearly not comfortable right now.
And that's the first time we've kind of seen him get banged in the low post and get off balance a bit. We'll see how he reacts to that. But again, it was Soliver making the play, getting by Watkins. He has just consistently beaten the St. Peter's guards off the balance.
Now we watch Jenkins trot back after completing the three-point play. Looks to be okay. Clark misses from the baseline and a rebounding foul.
It's going to be on Marshall. So St. Peter's will head to the foul line for a one-on-one. Clark just trying to make something happen. Right now his team's struggling. So he tries to bait the officials into the call there, but there's the bump by Marshall. to clear out space inside.
Yates has been the one steady offensive force here tonight for St. Peter's. He's got 16 points, and again, as we illustrated in the first half, he has had good fortune against Iona in all 3 games this year. Burt's pass gets away, but Soliver is right there, and the reach-in foul against Yates. That's number 3 on Yates.
So not much happening for St. Peter's out of their full court pressure. Iona's taking care of the basketball. At times, maybe it was in doubt there, especially on that possession as they kicked it around, but Soliver quick enough to close to the ball faster than Yates.
Soliver and Burt, the backcourt for Iona, has combined for 42, now 43 points. And this, go ahead.
Just a great stat line for Soliver. 8 assists to go along with those 17 points, and he's been the catalyst all game long.
Excellent all the way around. Hey, this copyrighted telecast of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the MAAC and MAAC Properties, a division of Host Communications. 18 points now for Ricky Soliver. And another whistle that draws an argument from Ricky Soliver.
And the foul is on number 14, Ricky Soliver. His 3rd.
Number 3 on Soliver, as you see. Both teams into the double bonus. Well, this game has kind of hit a brick wall the last 2 minutes. We've had a series of fouls called. And as much as anything, I think that's helping to conspire to keep St. Peter's from putting together any sort of run. And that doesn't help either when Keedron Clark, an 83% foul shooter, bricks the first.
That's his first miss after having gone 7 for 7. He's got 16 points, but it's been a struggle all around for the nation's leading scorer.
Now, we talked yesterday about star power here at the MAAC tournament, and Keedron Clark is one of those stars. Jerry Johnson in the Ryder Bronx coming up next. He's the same kind of lightning, explosive type of guard in terms of being able to put up points in a hurry. We'll get a chance to see him coming up in just a little bit.
We have not seen the star power, though, of Kiki Clark because of the solid defense from the Gale.
Soliver continues to put up points. He's got 20.
And the backcourt of Iona has outplayed Kiki Clark all the way around here this evening.
Clark continues to struggle from the floor, and we should also mention, too, that his shooting guard, Corey Hinnant, has just 1 bucket so far today as well. So 46 to 20, the Iona guards have outscored the St. Peter's backcourt. Somebody lost a sneaker. It's sitting on the floor. As play continues, it's Jenkins who is without his right sneaker.
Because of that, he can't track down the loose ball. Slipped trying to get after the rebound.
There he goes for the rebound with a bad back and without a sneaker. Everybody for the Gales just holding their breath, hoping for a whistle to come so he can get that sneaker back on. Jeff Ruland is asking for a timeout, and it's been granted with 8:20 left to go in the second half. The lead is 20. It was 17 at the break. It was 17-0 to begin, and St. Peter's has not been able to get any closer.
Yeah, they never matched Iona's intensity at the start of the game. They have not matched Iona's defensive intensity all game long. One team has guarded here tonight, and that certainly has not been the Peacocks.
All right, Rob, let's get back to our mind-bending trivia question. St. Peter's, one of 4 remaining charter members of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Name the other 3. They are the Fairfield University Stags, these Iona College Gales, and the Manhattan College Jaspers. Broadway Marketing, mind-bending branded solutions. Now, did you know that one without looking at the sheet, Rob?
Yes. Yep. Go way back with that. And I tell you what, St. Peter's right now just does not have any energy or enthusiasm. They're in the trap. You see the ball kicked around. You're going to see Kirill Waxman come into your screen. There's absolutely nobody around him. Talk about no defense and no effort. That's exactly what you got on that possession.
You saw the reserve center, Kinsey Reeves, didn't even move.
Nope.
And it's just not been working well for St. Peter's. And there is the face of Keidron Clark, who has 17 points, but he has not been able to get off his shots and not been able to knock them down.
It's as if they were stunned and staggered by that 17-0 run to start the game and haven't recovered since. And strange, because this is a team that's been very comfortable and used to playing from behind.
Yep.
And making up big deficits, but certainly it was the energy of Iona right from the start that set the tone, and they've never let off the pedal.
77-57. The Gales lead the Peacocks. Soliver goes to the reverse. Jenkins, the putback, and one. The foul against Yates.
That's the best news if you're an Iona Gale fan, that not only are you getting some time out of your big center, Greg Jenkins, but you're getting good bounce from him as well. He sets the screen. Nobody puts a body on him. No rebounding coming. Waxman gets involved, keeps it alive. You see him grab his elbow on that play as he continues to hold it down on the other side. But Greg Jenkins, not only has he played minutes, but he's looked good.
Yeah, other than the one moment where he was really banged a couple of minutes ago, did we see any sign that he's trying to come back from the back injury?
And that's always important. Take your first hit and make sure that you're still able to bounce back.
19 now for Keidron Clark. And a timeout called with 7:55 to go. It's a 30-second timeout called by the Peacocks. Jeff Rulin talking to Kirill Waxman, and there's Bob Leckie still coaching, and still time to make a push, but boy, we have not seen any indications that the Peacocks are going to be able to put it together.
No, because Iona has not let up. Their defense has been solid, not allowing a little crack in the armor to allow St. Peter's back in it.
Well, Rob, the New York Lottery MAAC Scholar Athlete of the Year is Corey Hinnant, the grad student for St. Peter's College. Winners are selected based on GPA, community participation, and good sportsmanship. The New York Lottery, supporting education since 1967, salutes Corey Hinnant for his achievements. Although on the court here today, he has been part of the problem, just 3 points, 8 under his average, and that southpaw backcourt for Iona just keeps on coming. 28 points now for Steve Burke. Hooker knocks it away into the corner, out of bounds. Iona basketball. 7:33 left to go. We've got an officials timeout. It has been all Iona. The Iona College Gales must be listening to our broadcast this year and getting their Balanced Bar Healthy Lifestyles tips of the game, because they're doing very well today. And this season, Balanced Bar Food Company and the MAAC promoting healthy lifestyles to the students, the alumni, the fans, the players, everybody. Today's tip: challenge your kids to a game of basketball, volleyball, or even that all-American classic, Duck, Duck, Goose. They say make activities part of the family bonding experience. The Balanced Bar family of nutritional products aims to aid in the passionate pursuit of everyday endeavors and activities by providing energy that lasts. And Rob Kennedy, I've been doing basketball games for 20 years.
Never before.
Never once have I said Duck, Duck, Goose.
No, good job pronouncing it, making sure we didn't have any problems with that. How about that? I mean, volleyball, basketball, that's a little athletic activity. And then the old favorite, Duck, Duck, Goose, to get yourself in shape.
I don't remember my heart rate getting up during a game of Duck, Duck, Goose.
Yeah,
but
I don't ever remember playing Duck, Duck, Goose.
Oh, I played Duck, Duck.
Oh, there you go.
Absolutely. I was good at Duck, Duck, Goose. Couldn't get away from me. Here is Jenkins inside. Bozovic took it away. And now they play a little game of Duck, Duck, Goose. Kiki Clark got touched down the top of his head as Marshall came flying in on top of him. Well, there's a guard comparison, but there's really no comparison in the guard play. It's been all Gales.
Not just their 48 points, but their defense effort to shut down Kiki Clark, the nation's top scorer coming in. Nothing's been easy for Kiki, and unfortunately for fans, they have not seen the best of Kiki Clark. You and I, the last regular season game in our MAAC package, he had a tremendous performance against Manhattan, where he not only scored it, knocking down 33 on 7 3-point shots, but got other people involved. Tremendous all-around game.
And the people around the country got a chance to see Keidron Clark doing his thing in the battle for New Jersey bragging rights a few weeks ago on ESPN2, St. Peter's against Rider. And he and Jerry Johnson went back and forth. So The TV audiences have had a chance to see Kedron at his best, but we have not certainly seen that here tonight.
And St. Peter's has been forced to be up in this full court pressure, trying to make up the 20-point gap. But to tell you what, nothing has come out of that pressure except for some easy baskets at the back end of it.
Burt fouled by Curry. And for Curry, that's his 4th personal foul. So for St. Peter's, Yates, Curry, Bozovic, and Hinnant now have 4 fouls apiece.
Burt once again gets himself to the line. He's so good at finding contact, and then when he gets to the line, he takes advantage. One of the best foul shooters in the league.
Now Steve Burt Jr., along with his father, earlier this season became the all-time combination scorers, each father and son scoring 1,000 points to get that total. And so Steve Burt Jr., not the scorer his father was back in the day at Iona, but certainly putting himself amongst the all-time greats, and he's still got a year to go in New Rochelle.
His dad scored over 2,500 points in his career, the all-time leader in points scored for the Gale. Steve Burt Jr. also on the top of an all-time list. He's the all-time leading three-point shooter in Iona history.
And for the second time in 2 weeks, he's gone to 30 points. 30 points here today. He had 38 in Bridgeport back on the 21st of February. That's his career high with 6:11 still to go. Maybe he makes a run at that here. We'll see how long Coach Rulin leaves his starters and regulars out there. Waxman gets his 3rd foul. And so Terrence Watkins, the senior out of Bishop Loughlin High School, at the line. Coming up after this one, scheduled for a 7 o'clock tip, number 2 seed Ryder against number 7 seed Canisius, the home-standing Golden Griffins. A perfect 2-0 in this building so far this season. Back in the early going, they knocked off St. Bonaventure in a non-league game and, of course, won yesterday to make round 2.
They were a perfect example of survive and advance. They did not play well against Marist, especially in the first half where they were very sluggish. Got themselves into a 9-point hole at the end of the first half, but then came out and were able to advance on into the second round.
They were out-rebounded by 10, outshot by a pretty good margin, but still picked up the 62-60 victory. So the Golden Griffins will be looking to win their second in a row at their home away from home here in downtown Buffalo. Curry goes flying over top of Steve Burt Jr., who stays down, and if you're going to be landed on by anybody, you don't want the offensive lineman on.
And he knew it. I mean, he just put his hands over top of his head, knowing that Curry was in the area. Curry knocks him down, and then Burt right here just covering his head. You don't want the big guy landing on top of you.
Curry is 6'5", 270 pounds, and as we've talked about, a second-team All-MAAC football player. He's a lineman for the Peacocks, and he will lumber to the sideline. And he's a guy who has helped the St. Peter's program since transferring in from the University of Delaware, but he is done for the day. That's his 5th personal foul, and for the senior out of East Orange, New Jersey, quite likely we've seen the last of his days in a hoop uniform at St. Peter's.
Haven't seen the last of Stevie Burt, who's been all over the place right from the get-go, knocking down deep threes. And he's been one of the catalysts. He and Soliver, the backcourt of Iona, outplaying the backcourt on both ends for the Peacocks, sharing the basketball as Soliver puts it ahead. His ability to knock down threes, as we said, the all-time leader in three-point field goals made in Iona history. And he's done a good job of getting himself all the way to the rim and finishing. Not only have he and his father gotten themselves in the record books as the top all-time scoring father-son duo with each over 1,000 points, they each now have gotten over 30 in a MAAC tournament game. Senior did it back in the championship game, and now, once again, Stevie Burt Jr. over the 30-point mark himself here this evening.
Well, Junior scored 19 in yesterday's victory. He's up to 32 here, and you can start filling out your tournament all-star brackets now. Chances are Steve Burt might work his way there.
He's been much more effective from the floor here tonight. Took him a while to get to those 19 points against Siena, just 7 of 22 from the floor, but he's been much more efficient here this evening.
Like you said, the defense has been a big part of the equation. Soliver and Burt have been doing it at both ends. Waxman left alone. We had Curry fouling out of the game before. He just committed a foul. Let's see if this is number 5. Now it's number 5. Oh, it's Yates' 5th. Take your pick. Most everybody for St. Peter's has 4 and then some. So it's Yates who is headed to the bench.
In a solid senior year, named to the 3rd team All-MAAC. He fouls out with a double-double. Another good performance against the Gales, but it wasn't enough.
And this time of year, you always see the emotion, especially from the seniors, as the realization comes in that my college career is done. Meanwhile, Marvin McCullough can smile because, well, not only does he have next year, he's got another game tomorrow. Going to be moving on to the MAAC semifinals. Waxman, very quietly, has had himself a terrific game, 15 points.
Yeah, not so quiet from the start. He was rebounding basketball and setting the tone and finishing around the rim.
Watkins off the mark. Marshall clears the glass.
St. Peter's foul starts number 3. Keedron Clark is 3rd.
Foul on Clark, number 3 for Kiki. And you see Bob Leckie, one of the excellent point guards in the history of St. Peter's College. Leckie back in the late 60s was the starting point for the Peacocks, and certainly doesn't have the numbers statistically that Keedron Clark has been putting up the last 3 years, but that combination has been the combinations that put St. Peter's back on the MAAC map.
Nobody's had the numbers that Kiki's had the last 3 years. Over 700 points in each of his 3 seasons. Over 100 assists, 100 threes. I mean, those are incredible numbers.
They really are.
I mean, I would venture to say that there's not been another player in the history of college basketball that's put up those numbers. 700 points, 100 assists, and 100 threes. It shows you how he is not just a one-dimensional player. And a lot of times you figure, this guy scores 26 a game, he must be throwing up shots. That is not Kiki Clark at all. Matter of fact, if he had a couple of guys that could finish on the front line with him, his assist numbers would even be up higher. He does a great job of finding other people.
Well, St. Peter's coming into the season as Marvin McCullough goes out with his 5th foul. The coaches picked St. Peter's to finish 6th. And they wound up finishing 4th. They overachieved in that regard, and that's without Jamie Sowers, who was a 3rd-team All-Star last year, who was declared academically ineligible, and without Shane Nichols. So they have really done a lot more than people would have expected, and it just hasn't come together here today.
No, and they also dug themselves a big hole in the MAAC standings right off the bat.
Yeah.
They got off to a 1-6 start, and they didn't pack it in. They came out and played hard throughout the rest of the MAAC schedule and went on that run to win 9 out of 11. And coming in, they were a lot of people's dark horse to possibly win a MAAC championship because they were the hottest team coming in. So go figure.
And so at the line is Mr. Curry. He is a 2-sport athlete at St. Peter's, as we said, playing football as well as basketball. Gets the roll on the foul shot. 91-66. Iona has led from the get-go. They scored the first 17 points of the ball game. Soliver and Burt have been the difference. They're still out there with Taquan Evans now, who has replaced McCullough, who fouled out. Hooker back to Watkins. Into Kinsey Reeves. Soliver with another rebound. His stat line is going to look real good at the end of this one. It already looks pretty good as it is. And he's had a terrific ball game.
Yeah, a great all-around floor game.
And there's the backdoor cut. Missed the finger roll. Soliver gets it back.
Opportunity to pad that stat sheet. Missed the layup inside. He's missed 2 layups.
Gales content to work the clock every time they've got the ball. Shot clock at 10, and Evans pulls it back out. Have a feeling Steve Burt's going to fire it up.
Good feeling. Good guess.
Barely nicked the iron. Soliver tried to go around Hooker for the save, and it goes out of bounds. We've got ourselves an officials timeout. Iona 91, St. Peter's 66. 91-66 Iona with the big lead, and today's Pepsi player of the game is Steve Burt Jr. See the numbers. Pepsi gets the cola, and we want to send it over to Dave McGarity with some recollections about his papa.
Thank you, Doug. Yeah, his papa was one of the all-time great scorers I've ever been around in all my years in college basketball. A real privilege and honor to coach him and Gary Springer Jr.'s father, Gary Sr., back in the 1983-84 season at Iona College. I was the assistant coach with Pat Kennedy. He's a relative of somebody on that row over there somewhere. The Kennedys were always great athletes in their own right, but I will say this: every time I had to coach against this little guy out here, number 15, who had an incredible day here today. He just was a major league headache from his freshman year on, but he's so similar to his dad in a lot of ways. Steve was probably a little bigger, a little stronger, probably a more prolific scorer at this point. But you know what? Junior here has another year to go, so let's not sleep on him. And I think that his dad is obviously very, very proud of what he's accomplished, and along the way, he's also a great student as well. So back to you guys, and terrific job today.
Well, Burt's scoring average up near 19 per game, and that's pretty heady stuff. Meanwhile, Keidron Clark seems to be done for the day. He is on the bench with 22 points.
And I'm surprised that Burt and Soliver aren't on the bench as well. Yet you've got a tough game coming in 24 hours.
Tim Spittler, a freshman from Buffalo, a walk-on for St. Peter's, has come into the ball game.
Make that less than 24 hours as we get a good look at Kiki Clark, and we did not get a good look at all that he can do on a basketball court.
Some lights just went out here inside the HSBC Arena as play continues. Jefferson misfires on the triple.
It's not because St. Peter's shot the lights out.
You got that right. Kiki and Curry sitting for the final 2 minutes. And at the next stoppage of play, it looks like we will see the Iona guards be taken out of the ball game.
They've had great energy in their 2 games so far. I mean, they came out and threw a knockout punch in each of the first halves of their 2 games. Against Siena, they kept them down with their defense right off the bat, and it doesn't get much better than a 17-0 run to start the game as they had here against St. Peter's.
Well, Burt's now within 2 of his career high. He's got 36.
3-point basket by number 1, Terrence Watkins.
Now we have a stoppage of play so that Iona can get the subs into the ball game. And Kinsey Reeves will be able to join the St. Peter's baseball team now. Spring training will start for him in earnest. He is the Randy Johnson of the St. Peter's baseball team at 6'11". Last year, he pitched 6 1/3 innings of relief for the Peacocks. Can you imagine standing in the batter's box with him bearing down on you? Well, the college baseball season is already underway. I would imagine that his St. Peter's baseball teammates are somewhere down south, and he's got to get himself in baseball shape now that the hoop season is winding down for the Peacocks. Into the game for Iona, Jason McPherson, a freshman guard from the Bronx, and also Kenny D'Agostino, a junior from Schenectady who went to Guilderland High School. He was a walk-on his first couple of years with Iona, but this year on scholarship, number 0 in gold.
Iona content to let the clock run down to 3 on the shot clock.
D'Agostino couldn't connect, but there his teammate is to clean it up, Justin Marshall.
See the guys on the bench like it, say, yep, that's an assist, huh?
Hey, why not?
To close it in on the 100-point mark. Only 4 times in MAAC tournament history has a team gone over 100.
St. Peter's just content to run it down. Bob Leckie, the head coach of the Peacocks, says just let it go. Now with 5 on the shot clock, Jefferson from the Pepsi logo banks it in.
Calls it. Little smile from Joe DeMeo as he runs by.
Iona will not reach the century mark. They will run out the clock.
But they will reach the semifinals with a strong performance right from the start with their defense.
A 17-0 opening burst culminates in a 97-73 impressive Gales victory. The junior season of Keidron Clark is over. Handshakes all around, and Jeff Rulin and the Gales will meet the Purple Eagles, the top-seeded Purple Eagles, tomorrow in the semis.
Those two had 2 terrific games during the regular season. Iona losing by 2 as a Stevie Burt 3 at the buzzer wouldn't go, and then the Gales handled the Purple Eagles back in New Rochelle with a 15-point win. So that should be a very interesting semifinal matchup.
We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have our Pepsi Slam of the game. We'll also talk to the winning coach and our player of the game. Iona moves on to the semis here on the MAAC Television Network.